Hello, Daphne here with a video today of just spontaneous thoughts about my love to travel, my life, and et cetera, et cetera. Well, mainly I have loved to travel from a very young age. I remember my very first airline flight was from California, from San Francisco to New York. And what a flight it was. It took forever. I thought we would never land, but we did. And that was just one of many, many trips I've taken in my lifetime. Over 3 million miles and counting. I have been to all corners of the world, nearly 50 different countries, and I have a lot more on my list. Some of the highlights have been my trip to China, because I was born there. So I went back to see where my parents had lived during the war. And they absolutely loved China. They loved the people, they loved the lifestyle, the culture. Theirs was a glamorous life there. They were on the top of everybody's party list. And they used to call Shanghai the Paris of the East. Or was it the West? I guess it's the West. Paris of the East is the actual Paris. Paris of the West in those days was Shanghai. So they lived a charmed life until the Japanese came along and threw them in concentration camp. My father was a very prominent doctor. My mother and father both loved Shanghai. It was a magical place before the Japs came along, and they were sad to leave. But they were fortunate to get out of concentration camp earlier than a lot of other people. But anyway, I don't know why, but I love to travel. The more the merrier. I had a trip back to see the place where my parents had been in Shanghai. Where their house was, it no longer stands. It was a house they built. I went by my father's office on the Bund, the main thoroughfare there in Shanghai. That was exciting. And sat on one of the two big, huge sculptures, bronze sculptures of lions. That made me feel a connection to my dad, who died when I was very young. So I love seeing where they both lived, and I knew their love of that part of the world was just enormous. So then I traveled all over the world with my adoptive father. And that was very, very fortunate, because he was such a wonderful man. I was just so fortunate to have two fantastic, fabulous fathers in my life. And I am grateful to the max for that. But anyway, my father, my adoptive father, was in the American Foreign Service. So we lived all over the world. And again, I think that my parents were responsible for my absolutely complete love of travel. So they were stationed in Libya and Haiti, two countries that I guess you'd call second world countries. But to me, they were both just amazing. I love both of them, both those places. The people, the history, the culture, and everything else. And I have had the good fortune of going back to Haiti, but never to Libya, because of the upheaval of the political situation there, which is really such a shame, because Libya was a wonderful country with a lot of history, a lot of amazing Roman ruins right along the Mediterranean Sea. Leptis Magna, in case you're interested. Unfortunately, Libya is in such political turmoil these days that I'll never be able to go back, which makes me sad. And I've been to Bhutan. One of the big thrills of my life was flying from Kathmandu, Nepal, to Paro, Bhutan. And on an absolutely exquisitely beautiful day, there was not a cloud in the sky. When we passed at 30,000 feet, which is about the same height as Mount Everest, and I took some of the most gorgeous pictures of that tallest mountain in the world out my window. Oh, I can't tell you what joy that brought to my heart. I couldn't believe I was actually seeing Mount Everest really with my own two eyes and not just a picture of it. But of course, then Bhutan was just a wonderful, wonderful place. I love that magical kingdom with the most gorgeous royal family. Yep, the country's still ruled by a king and a queen. And it's so unspoiled. That's what I loved about Bhutan. It is just completely unspoiled. They limit the number of tourists that are allowed into the country each year. I think is part of the reason why the country is still pretty neat and not overrun by foreigners. And let's see, I've been to Sri Lanka. I've been all over that amazing island. It's got multiple UNESCO World Heritage Sites. It's incredible. It's incredible. And then let's see, I've been to lots of trips to Africa. One of my favorite places anywhere in the world. I've taken my son there. My husband and I have been on a couple of trips. I've been there on one trip with friends. We sponsor a family in southern Kenya on the border of Tanzania, the education of a number of children. And I've been down there to visit them. And believe it or not, this Ritz-Carlton girl stayed in a hut with bathroom facilities being an outhouse. I sort of surprised myself that I didn't mind it one bit, and the family was so loving and kind. It was one of those experiences I'll never forget. And a couple of years later, I got to go back. So that was wonderful. But Africa as a whole, absolutely, there's something about it I just love like crazy. I can't quite put my finger on it. But there's just something special about being out there in the wilderness and seeing all those absolutely magnificent animals in their natural habitat. And it's amazing how close you can get to them. And because in these places where safaris are conducted, there is no hunting allowed. So the animals are not afraid of the vehicles or the tourists. Now, you still have to keep your hands inside the vehicle. You can't make fast and unnecessary moves, but you can get very, very close. I mean, I think this was the closest. We were out on an evening safari one night, and a leopard literally came and walked around our vehicle. I mean, can you believe that? I could have put out my hand and touched the old guy. Needless to say, I didn't do that. But that was so exciting to see such a magnificent animal up so close. It was, heaven on earth. But there have been other close encounters. We had a hyena that I have a picture of him very, very close to me. And then there's my favorite, the ugly but darling warthog. They are just comical characters as they run across the plains of Africa with their tails straight up in the air. And then there was a breakfast we had at Stanley Camp in the Okavango Delta, where my husband was having breakfast. Unfortunately, my back was to the scene behind me, which is what my husband was looking at. And what should have walked by but a leopard? Not a stone's throw from us, a leopard was literally walking by our safari camp. Now, if that isn't special, I don't know what is. So anyway, I love all aspects of Africa, and I just can't wait to go back. I hope I have another couple of trips before I leave planet Earth. But there are just so many special places. I've forgotten so many already in this video, but I'll make another one soon that will cover some of the other places I've been. And I've been to a lot. I've been to all 50 states I've been to 49 states in America. Alaska is the last one, and I hope to go there soon with my husband, because we love traveling. Maybe next spring, a cruise. That sounds nice. I am a world traveler. It's in my bones. I get excited walking through airports. I don't even mind the hassles with security and all that. You know why? Because the ultimate prize is getting to a brand new destination, to find out what it's all about, to meet the people, to explore their ancient monuments, to learn about the culture, to speak a few words of the foreign language. And the list of joys goes on and on. That's why world travel means so much to me. And I hope you've enjoyed my sharing a few thoughts on worldwide travel for this never a dull moment traveler.